What if I told you the life you dream about living is achievable within 4 simple steps? I mean, you probably think I'm trying to sell you something. But the truth is, 4 simple steps is really all it takes. They're not easy, but they're straightforward and we can learn them together. So that's what we're going to do. This is the beginning of a 4-part series where we're going to do a deep dive on each step necessary to take you from where you are right now to truly living the life of your dreams. So this first video, we're going to get to the bottom of what it is you actually want, right? Because it's all very well to say, like, I want to live my dream life. I want to do big things. I want to be happier. But if we can't make that specific and understand what it is we actually want, we're never really going to get there, right? So today's going to be really focused on that. It's going to be really actionable. Take your time, take notes, try and do the exercises because that will truly be the thing that makes a difference. I know it's really easy to consume content and think like, oh, yep, that sounds great. Like that's definitely going to help. And then we don't do anything with it. So my challenge for you is to pay attention, actually really think about how these things are coming up in your mind, like write down the ideas that come to you and make sure to actually follow along and do the exercises. Because by the end of this video, you're going to have a really clear idea for 2 different time horizons. So both for a year from now and 5 years from now, you're going to have a really clear idea of exactly what you want your life to look like in so many different categories. And that's going to help you for the next 3 steps, which will be in future videos, where we're going to be able to break down the visualization component and building the confidence to actually believe we can have what we want. We're going to talk about breaking it down into actionable steps, and we're going to talk about how to actually implement those steps. So be sure to subscribe because we're going to do a deep dive on each of those coming up soon. But for now, let's start with why it's so important to understand what it is that we want. Like, why can you not afford to skip this step? Okay. So let's imagine an analogy. Let's say that I have some, magical powers to change your life, and I invite you to an event. And I say, you need to come to this event. This event is going to change your life. You will regret it forever if you don't come, right? So you say, cool, yeah, I want to go. But the problem is, you don't know where it is, just kind of like a vague direction. You don't know when it is, just kind of like a general time. You don't know how to prepare for it to make the most out of it. You don't know what to wear. You don't know what to expect. And so without any idea of what this magical life-changing thing is or how to get there or when you get there or any of that, the odds of you actually making it there on time or being able to actually meet me to receive this life-changing, boon or whatever it is, are very, very, very low. So it's kind of a convoluted way to say, if you don't know where it is you're trying to go, you're not going to get there. Like realistically, it's not going to happen. Like you might get kind of close, but if you really have big dreams and you want big things to happen, you need clarity and specificity. Okay? So now that we understand why it's so important to know what you want, let's jump into the exercise to actually figure it out for yourself. So what we're going to do is write 2 different letters to ourself from our future self at 2 different points in the future. So I'll jump into details in a minute, but one of them is going to be from you 1 year from now, and another is going to be 5 years from now. And the reason we have those 2 different timelines is because a lot can change in a year, like a lot, probably a lot more than you think. But in 5 years, your life can be entirely unrecognizable. There's truly almost nothing you can't do with 5 years of consistent, focused effort. So this allows us to kind of dream in 2 different timelines where we can think, okay, if we really push it, what can we do in a year? And I don't want to say like, oh, be super realistic and, temper your expectations, but, there is only so much that can happen in a year. But then in the 5 years, I want you to think on the really, really big scale. I want those dreams to kind of be like, whoa, that's kind of scary, but would be awesome if it happened. Okay. So both of the letters are going to follow the same format. And it's very simple. You're writing to yourself from future you, describing your life, expressing gratitude for the steps that were taken to get to where you are now. And you're going to go into detail about every little component of your life. You're going to talk about your relationships. You're going to talk about your finances. You're going to talk about your health. You're going to talk about where do you make your money? What do you do with your free time? Who's around you? How are you giving back? What has changed in your life? And so the letter, it's not going to be from you to a future self saying like, oh, I hope I can achieve this. It's going to be from future self to you, talking about how you've already achieved it. And so when you're trying to think about what to write, I want you to focus on what are those dreams that you have down there? You know the ones I'm talking about, the ones you might be too scared to tell your friends, the ones you might think are unrealistic. Maybe you want to move to New York City and work at Vogue, but maybe you have no background in fashion. Maybe you think that's an insane dream to have. Well, why don't you talk about how you're so glad that you made the leap to join that fashion program? You really got out there and started networking. You cold emailed all the hiring managers at Vogue and you got their attention. You landed yourself an internship. You managed to come to New York City for 3 months so you could work there. And that landed you a more long-term position with the company, right? So this is a 1-year letter. Like all of that is entirely achievable. I mean, I don't know anything about Vogue, but you know what I'm saying? Like right from the perspective of having those, I'm so glad we made the leap to do this. I'm so grateful that our daily fitness habit has led us to where we are today, feeling strong and confident in all these ways. I'm so glad that we put ourselves out there, and made a lot of friends in this new city that I moved to work my new job, right? So really go into detail. Don't censor yourself. Don't try and think, is this realistic or not? Write down all those little bits and pieces from a place of gratitude and from a place of already having them. Before we jump into the exercises, some important mindset tips. You want to try and be in a good, calm, excited, or not necessarily excited, but like optimistic state of mind when you're going through these. So if you're feeling right now super anxious and, there's a lot of weight on you and your mind's going a million miles a minute, this might not be the best time to actually do this exercise. So I want you to find some time where you're at peace, where you are excited about the future, where you're feeling some optimism and you're feeling the ability to kind of like channel some ideas freely. And if you're having trouble, you're kind of drawing a blank and you need some inspiration, there are a few things you can think about. So one is try and think about what it is that you find yourself jealous of in other people. And I know that this can sometimes get a bad rep, like we don't want to focus on, jealousy and lack and all of that, but it can be a really important clue to figuring out what you want. If you're consistently jealous of the person you see doing XYZ thing and you want that for your life, that's kind of a good indicator that it might be something you're working towards. So just, a little useful tip. So a lot of you are going to feel some feelings of discomfort through this process. I know that I do, because so much of what we think we want is tempered by what we think society wants for us, what our mom wants for us, what we think, the people at school think is going to be good for us. Very little that we allow into our hopes and dreams is actually true to who we are. We have a tendency to temper our expectations, to think of something and think like, oh yeah, no, I'd love to do that, but like, I couldn't do that. That's not me. Like that's something they could do. What I need you to do through this exercise today is try and let go of those feelings. You don't have to share these exercises with anybody. These are personal and private to you. This is a way for you to get to the bottom of what it is you actually want. It'll take a bit of time and you might find yourself surprised at some of the things that come up. You might find yourself blocked in ways. Like this isn't something you have to complete right away, but take the time to do it, because I've done this more than a few times and I can't tell you how effective it's been in helping me kind of guide the vision of what I'm looking to do and convince myself that it's possible. So yeah, once you complete those, you'll be ready for the next step, which we're going to talk about next week, but that's going to be a lot of visualization and actually helping us believe that what we're wanting is possible, because that's going to be a really big next step. But for now, take your time, write those letters to yourself, be honest, be genuine, but don't be afraid to express what is truly in here. And that's going to really set yourself up well. So thank you for your time. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be back next week with the next step, but I'm really excited for you to kind of go on this journey and learn about what it is you're truly wanting within yourself.